Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled Independence Day Celebration. Alright, I am mindful that my audience is an international audience. I have viewers from United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia. I have viewers from Latin America, Central America, and of course the so-called United States of America, which represents more than half of my audience. So just hang in here because my lecture, my video applies to everyone listening to this video, because tomorrow is July 4th, 2023. That is America's 247th birthday. Yes, to celebrate the independence from England. Yes, King Charles. Except that was a psyops. It didn't really happen, okay? I know they had the redcoats and they had Paul Revere over in Boston. By the way, you know, I did visit Paul Revere's home where he had 7 children and lived in a one-room house. It's now surrounded by landfill, and it's created the Charles River, which was an estuary, I believe, when Paul Revere lived there with a noisy household with a big fireplace, a wife, and 7 children. I can't possibly imagine how you could live in a one-room house in Boston. I know it gets brutally cold there. Anyway, I wasn't really buying into the whole Paul Revere story when I walked along the Freedom Trail. The Freedom Trail. I did that. I walked to Beacon Hill. I crossed over the bridge. I went over to Beacon Hill. I went over to Bunker Hill. I ran up the lighthouse spiral staircase. I looked at the USS Constitution ship, which was at Moore over there. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you is all poppycock. Okay, so tomorrow's going to be the 4th of July Independence Day celebration. Now they're going to have some fireworks displays, and that's going to be kind of problematic because we've been doing aluminum chemtrail dumpings for the last 7 months. So you're not going to see a damn thing in the sky. You can barely see the military drones that come out at 8:30 p.m., which would be the time that the fireworks display would go off. So with a little luck, a bottle rocket will take out one of the 20 military drones that are flying over my town. All right? Anyway, in the words of Aaron Valente, age 33, murdered at 2500 Sand Hill Road, and her body found 5 days later in a different county, in a different city, in the back seat of a really expensive Nissan Murano SUV rent-a-car. Found in the back seat, dead as a doornail. Counted 5 days later. Her last words to her mother, spoken, were, "It's all a game, it's a thought experiment, we're in the Matrix." Okay, well that's pretty much my definition of Independence Day for United States. Okay? You should know also in a few days we're going to have the French Bastille celebration. Bastille Day is July 14th, and that will celebrate 234 years of France's fake independence, because the bankers were fully in control when the peasants stormed the Bastille armory to get the cannon powder, the gunpowder, the rifles, the bayonets, the cannons, which were all in the Bastille. There were 7 prisoners there, the Marquis de Sade being just one of 7 prisoners. They were liberated, but that's not the purpose of the storming of the Bastille, which was guarded by Swiss guards, by the way. So you have Swiss banking contractors guarding the military armory. See, military and banking go hand in hand. You can't have a bank without a military. You can't have a Wizard of Oz without a curtain. And the Moloch lion's head with the fireballs coming out the nostrils. You cannot have a banking without a psyops. Fear porn. All right, so getting back to Aaron Valente, that it's all a game, it's a thought experiment, we're in the matrix of mendacity, lies, and false narratives. America is cut and pasted and glued together by rituals, okay? There's no question about that. One of the first rituals you learn, whether you went to Catholic parochial school or whether you went to the public schools, first thing you learn right out of the gate is the Pledge of Allegiance. So let me just recite the Pledge of Allegiance for you believers that we have a United States of America, the so-called Pledge of Allegiance. Let me just read this to you. I have it memorized, but I just don't want to make a mistake. First thing you do is you stand up, you remove your hat if you're wearing one, you stand with straight posture, you face the flag. You know, like the one they found at the Sharon Tate murder scene. They had an American flag, United States flag, turned upside down on that piece of junk sofa, which, in case you didn't know, in military parlance means distress. It's a distress signal. Whenever you hoist your national flag upside down, it means you're in distress. You're sending a distress rescue signal. And that was done at the Sharon Tate, Tom Coomer crime scene. Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. These words should be rendered while you're standing at attention facing this flag, the stars and stripes, with your right hand over your heart, even though your heart's in the center of your chest. If you're not in uniform and you're a man of the military, you should remove any non-religious head dressing from your head and put it in your right hand and hold it at your left shoulder. Persons in uniform should remain silent, face the flag, and render a military salute. Members of the armed forces not in uniform and veterans may render the military salute in the manner provided for persons in uniform, even though you're technically a veteran. All right, that's a ritual. You know, that's not any different than wearing a COVID mask. If you wear a COVID mask when you're out in public, other people can see you wearing your mask. So you're in compliance, you're obedient, you're a COVID believer. Yes. This always cracks me up when people ask you, are you vaccinated? And you say no, and you say, oh, well, you better get away from me. I said, well, are you vaccinated? Yes. Well, so you don't believe your vaccine works because you're afraid a unvaccinated person could kill you? This is the paradox, people. If you have confidence in getting the jab, but you're not confident being around unmasked people, then doesn't that inescapably mean that you don't believe in your ritual of the jab? I mean, if the jab works and it's safe and effective, then there's no worries. You don't need to wear a mask, and you don't need to worry if other people wear a mask. Only in the land of the lunatics and the imbecile would you think that a vaccine would be safe and effective and not work. And the people who don't agree with you are the enemy. The other thing we do at all steroid sporting events, you know, like the Tour de France, which just started 3 days ago, is we stand for the national anthem, which is typically sung by a rapper. Anyway, we either play the national anthem with or without words. Everyone stands for it, and then we start looking at the excitement of steroid sports. This is done at the Olympics, it's done for soccer games, it's done for NFL football, NBA basketball, Major League Baseball, hockey, you name it, tennis. All the dope sports that appear on television have the playing of a national anthem for the host country. Also, we have the flag which embodies some conceptual framework to a sovereign nation. So in the United States, we have the stars and stripes, okay? And we have this concept that there are 50 states in the United States and that they're united, but they are part of a democratic republic, meaning that there are such things as states' rights. Okay, well, here's the problem with that. First of all, the United States of America, from an accounting point of view, is completely and utterly insolvent. Even if you use the most incorrect accounting, it's trillions of dollars insolvent. If you use accrual accounting, where you recognize future commitments that you've made through Social Security and Medicare, then you can just about add another $10 trillion onto the $30 trillion of indebtedness that you already have. You have a negative net worth of $50 trillion. There aren't enough people in the United States to pay income taxes to make even 5% of the repayment of that. So that means you can stick a fork in it. From a finance accounting point of view, you're done, okay? And you live at the behest of a banker because the banks print the money to buy your refinanced, worthless treasury notes. Because without the refinancing on a weekly basis of all your uncollectible debts, you cannot continue to function and fund the military or fund NATO contributions or order some more flags. It's better to order vodka or Scotch whiskey than it is to order an American flag, which is really a disgrace. All right, so the 4th of July and Independence Day is a disgrace. It really is. If you believe that you live in a sovereign nation, if you believe you have a democracy, if you have confidence in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and you think Ron DeSantis runs Florida and steroid beauty pageant Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to give you advice on anti-Semitism and global pollution, and he was a governor of California and he denied parole on Leslie Van Houten, you have confidence in Arnold Schwarzenegger? The guy's a moron, and he's a Nazi. He's a Nazi from Austria. He's not even born in the United States, and he's on drugs and hormones, and he wears bikinis. All right? Do you have confidence in Gavin Newsom or Andrew Cuomo or Dianne Feinstein or Nancy Pelosi? I don't. First of all, they're not intelligent. Secondly, they're not in charge. They have no authority. They're fake leaders. And, I mean, Dianne Feinstein's 90 years old. I mean, come on. Her shelf life was expired 30 years ago. All right. So, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. That's a ritual. It's a cult ritual. We have the national anthem for all sporting events. That's a cult ritual. We have the COVID mask. That's a cult ritual. We have the United States of America flag. That is the symbol of cult belief ritual. We have the 4th of July annual celebration of an Independence Day where we never gained independence from the bank. All we did is get a franchise, but we're still part of a global banking cartel, which is run by the Rothschild family. So there was never any separation of the financing. And if you can't separate your financing, then you can never have independence. You can't stop a war of independence until every single banker is locked up in a cell, in a detention facility. Since then, we've added more psychological operations. We created the USS Maine, and remember the Maine and to hell with Spain, the sinking of the USS Maine in the port of Havana, a ship where 266 sailors were killed whilst being guarded by United States Marines in a port facility, a high security port facility. This was followed by the Pearl Harbor surprise sneak attack, again in a high security port facility, and you're going to send 6 aircraft carriers 3,000 miles across the Pacific when you have an oil embargo in force and you didn't notice. A fleet of aircraft carriers and support ships. We had 9/11, the destruction of 3 towers by controlled demolition direct energy weapons, not by fires, not by airplanes, again in a secured port facility, Port of New York. We had the fake moon landings and the fake Apollo program. And when I think of Apollo, I think of Gus Grisham, who was the only astronaut that spoke the truth. The very first astronaut said, this thing's a lemon and no one's going to the moon for at least 25 years. I think what he meant to say is 250 years, no one's going to the moon. But anyway, he said 25 years, and then he got murdered in January 1967. He got murdered before Sharon Tate got murdered. And Neil Armstrong went to the same university as did Gus Grisham, which was Purdue, which is a part of University of Indiana in Indianapolis. So you had a non-compliant astronaut, Gus Grisham, murdered, and then you had an obedient astronaut, Neil Armstrong, who didn't ever want to crack open a bottle of champagne or speak about his moon landing experience because he knew it never happened. He never went anywhere. He's probably in a trailer park for the 10 days or whatever it was, 7 days of his disappearance before the USS Hornet picked him up. Then we have Veterans Day to celebrate all the veterans who are not fighting for your freedom. Because we have no freedoms, we have no liberties in America under maritime law. We have privileges which can be suspended without notice at any time. If you don't believe me, open an account at YouTube, post a few videos, see what happens. Because when they delete you or suspend you, they do so without notifying you in advance. They just do it. Then we had the Manson family cult murders, which never happened in real life and only happened on television, magazines, and newspapers. And that's celebrated throughout the year, every year for the last 53 years. So the Manson family fake murder to conceal a NATO Gladio murder with the M7 bayonet and M16 rifles, killing CIA operatives who were disobedient. And this is concealed by using a cult family ritual not different than the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem, because the Manson family has become the Pledge of Allegiance for the fake America. If you believe that Susan Atkins could murder Sharon Tate or stab Abigail Folger, and if you believe a 21-year-old girl with a 9-month-old baby boy could murder people 102 times with a bayonet that was never found, no murder weapons were ever found, no witnesses ever existed, no witness testified at the trial as to the murder of any person, no weapons were found. Weapons were introduced as evidence, a buck knife, not used, and a .22 caliber Ronald Reagan replica pistol, not used in the crime. So you had props that should never have been admitted into a murder trial as evidence of a murder that never happened by the defendants. In other words, it's a railroad, and it's a joke, and it's a disgrace. And to use Susan Atkins as a poster child, if you believe Susan Atkins murdered anyone, not only are you an imbecile, but you're a pervert too, because it means you don't have any empathy whatsoever for a 21-year-old little girl who was raised by alcoholic parents, left her home after her mother died of a brain cancer at age 15, and had to make her way and got sucked into the CIA vortex as a crisis actor. And she never hurt anyone, and that includes Bobby Bousselet and Gary Hinman, who work for CIA. They're all CIA crisis actors. Some get whacked, some don't. But don't lay that on a 21-year-old with a 9-month-old child. And Linda Kasabian, who committed perjury, 18 days on the witness stand, sponsored by Vogue magazine and I Magnans, May Magnin Brussels store, she had Tanya, who is about 10 months old. Tanya is her daughter. She's 19, and she's pregnant with Angel, who she gives birth to after the Manson arrest in 1970. Okay? So the United States is insolvent. It's completely dependent by the banking cartel. We're under maritime law, the law of the sea, which goes up the creek beds and the rivers into the land. And it's martial law, military law, Office of Navy Intelligence law. Anyway, that's my Independence Day celebration sermon. I hope you enjoyed it. I think at this point, if you still believe in the Manson family, it probably means you believe in COVID, and you believe in masking, and you believe in social distancing, and that you believe we live in a democratic republic, and you have confidence in Joe Biden, and that you're going to vote for Trump or Biden, or you're going to vote for Ron DeSantis, and he's going to save you, or you're going to vote for Gavin Newsom, or some other charlatan, or Robert Kennedy Jr., whose father bought the murder scene that Sharon Tate was killed on. It's a porn set. And Joseph Kennedy Sr. bought it for RKO Radio Pictures. I can't make this stuff up, people. This is all factual. You can do your own research and corroborate everything I just said. Or you can just roll your eyes and get a booster shot. That's my talk for today. Have a great 4th of July day. And thank you for all you people who aren't part of the psych ops that are from other countries. But you know what? You've got your own villains and your own demons. You know, God help you. Canada, oh my God, Australia and Canada are basically FEMA camp penal colonies, which, by the way, so is America. We have travel restrictions too. We're all going to a smart grid techno-enslavement system, you know, unless somebody starts disabling the 5G apparatus, because the techno-enslavement will not work without the 5G. Okay? Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe and share my videos. Bye-bye.